lights out, and we're racing here in Mandalika. Underway we go. The Marco Bezzecchi's again from pole position, and another shocking start. He's going backwards once again. Marquez gets aggressive on the inside of both Quartararo and Bezzecchi. Bezzecchi's going to go 6th or 7th as they steam towards turn 2, but it's Pedro Acosta that leads from Luca Marini in 2nd.
Tell you what, it was very touch and go as to whether Pedro Acosta jumped the start. It was very close indeed. He has the lead. We'll have to keep a very close eye on our timing screens to see if that start was legitimate.
Right, yeah, we'll keep a very, very close eye. That will come up immediately on our timing screens in the commentary box. Acosta it is, though, that leads. Marini's been superb once again for the line. He was 6th to 2nd.
Oh,
the start sprint.
Yes, that is, isn't it?
It's Bezzecchi. It's Marc Marquez and Marco Bezzecchi. That's a massive, massive crash early on here. The new world champions Mandalika curse continues, and Marco Bezzecchi, the massive pre-race favourite from pole position and the sprint victory, is out early on in this Grand Prix. Dramatic first lap here in Mandalika, a first lap which will end with Pedro Acosta as the leader. That incident will be reviewed after the Grand Prix. We'll await the replays, but it's going to be Acosta from Marini, from Aldeguer. Marc Marquez has still not been able to get to his feet here. This has been a real cage rattler for the new world champion.
Yeah, Bez is on behind Marc Marquez. So difficult to pass into turn 7, straight into the back of Marc Marquez, and he clips his left foot as well on the way through. Bezzecchi, I'm afraid, can look at anyone but himself for that one.
Oh, that was horrible. Bezzecchi and Marc Marquez out of contention. Acosta is your leader. Still no information coming up on our timing screens about whether the Spaniard did indeed make a jump start. And now Joan Mir has crashed out of contention as well after the contact at turn 10. The factory Honda rider contact with Alex at turn 10, and Mir now becomes our 3rd high-profile victim early on here in Mandalika.
Well, we already said this was going to be a race of survival. 3 out of it already, and 3 key players out of this Grand Prix as we see Ralph Fernandez coming through on Alex Rins. Everyone in this field, particularly towards the front, are suddenly realising the obvious favourite is out. The rider who's won so many Grand Prix this season is out. This is anybody's. So Joan Mir pits, he's out of the Grand Prix. Acosta leads from Luca Marini, Fermin Aldeguer and Ralph Fernandez. The top 4 in this race have never won a MotoGP Grand Prix. Alex Rins in 5th place hasn't won for the better part of 2.5 years. Fabio Quartararo in 6th hasn't won since 2022.
Marc and Bezzecchi shaken up. The order at the front of this Grand Prix all shook up, isn't it? As we now see Acosta, Marini, Aldeguer and Ralph Fernandez all set fastest laps of this Grand Prix. Further down the order is Miguel Oliveira, one of only 3 riders on the soft rear tyre, with Rins and Quartararo, 2 of the Yamahas, with that soft rear tyre coming in beautifully already for Oliveira. 131.366 sees Oliveira fastest rider on circuit. He's down at the moment in 11th place.
And even with 3 riders out, Pecco Bagnaia is last again. He's now 4 seconds off the back of the field. Bagnaia must have made a mistake somewhere to drop so far down the order. Let's have a look at what was going on into turn 1 then. This is Rins going in hot and dropping away from the back of Ralph Fernandez.
Yeah, Rins has been on the floor there in Q2 this weekend. Back at the front then it's still Acosta from Marini. This lead quartet with that little bit of a breather. They're now ahead of Alex Rins. Fabio Quartararo on the 2nd of the factory Yamaha, still there in 6th place. Brad Binder is 8th as Aldeguer goes on the inside of Marini. Made that move beautifully. Nice move that by Aldeguer, going through the fast left-hander of turn 12. Aldeguer then now up into 2nd place. Starts the pursuit of Acosta.
Aldeguer possibly the favourite at this stage to win this Grand Prix, given what we saw from him in the sprint yesterday. Of course, we would never have known where Acosta would have figured, because he crashed out of the sprint. No news on our timing screens. We haven't had the no jump starts message, but we certainly haven't any news of Acosta jumping it. If he didn't jump it, he absolutely nailed it.
Turn 17. This is going to be the completion of lap 5 of 27. So an awful long way to go in this Grand Prix. It's back-to-back fast laps for Aldeguer. This time around he's improved to a 131.288, but once again on that soft rear tyre, getting that hooked up beautifully right now is Oliveira. A 131.261, the Portuguese rider once again fastest on track. Ralph Fernandez sends it on the inside of Luca Marini. That's not going to work out. Just in too hot on the brakes into turn 10. Aldeguer showing Acosta his front wheel going through 11. Marc Marquez, when he was on the podium with Aldeguer in the Austrian Grand Prix, said of all of the Ducati riders, it's Aldeguer that is better at anybody on a GP24 or GP25 or whatever Ducati are calling their Desmos Adichie now this year. He's the best at managing the rubber late on in Grand Prix. This collision early on, Marco Bezzecchi charging into the back of Marc Marquez's factory Ducati, putting the 93 and world champion immediately out of contention. Oh, Marc was looking at that. There's no serious damage, hopefully, to that left foot. It looks like the main concern is a right shoulder injury. And with Marc out early, yeah, look, he's already sort of feeling that upper right arm. Of course, it was the right humerus bone, wasn't it, causing so much grief. Here is Aldeguer then in the top left-hand corner of your picture, taking the lead of this Grand Prix for the first time. He's got the job done up at turn 10. Acosta now, what has he got in terms of retaliation on the factory KTM?
54, then now it leads 37, and Fermin Aldeguer knows that with his likeliest challenger, Marco Bezzecchi, now out of this Grand Prix, is the path clear? Well, it's far from clear at the moment with Acosta right behind him, but Fermin Aldeguer now leading this Grand Prix, and the rider that chased him down yesterday is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, you have to imagine that incident will be reviewed after the race, a potential penalty coming their way for Bezzecchi next time out of Phillip Island. This was the move, then he set it all up, getting the drive coming through turn 9. There's nothing that Acosta can do about this. And at the moment, Grazzini could be adding a new name to the winning roster in the MotoGP World Championship. It's another hot lap, another scorching hot lap by Aldeguer, a 1:30.805.
Someone's down, it's Bagnaia down.
Bagnaia. Well, Pecco Bagnaia was dead last and nowhere in this Grand Prix. A dismal weekend, not just for Bagnaia but for the factory Ducati team as well. He sort of sarcastically does the sort of gesture towards that factory Ducati, doesn't he? Into the final corner he goes. That front's going to just tuck from underneath him, isn't it? Right about there. He just sort of fell off the side of that factory Ducati, didn't he there, Pecco Bagnaia? Down and well and truly out. Last and lost. Back-to-back Grand Prix podiums for the factory Honda team. Feel like we've put a time capsule back to sort of 2018, 2019 here. It was Joan Mir, of course, who took the honours last time out in Montego. Here comes Marini, darting to the inside line there, through turn 12. That is the textbook move through that third gear left-hander. Acosta immediately tries to fight back. Marc Marquez has gone to the Circuit Medical Centre. We hope it's just some precautionary check-up, some concerns, wasn't there, about his right shoulder. Let's hope that there's been no aggravation to the right humerus bone that he fractured and caused all of his career-long problems at Jerez in 2020.
Well, Marini must be thinking, I might have to do what Marc Marquez did to my teammate Joan Mir in Montego in the sprint last weekend, where he just dive-bombed him, blocked past him and sent him off to the edge of the racetrack. The problem that Marini's got, if he tries something like that, is that Ralph Fernandez, Alex Rins, Alex Marquez, Fabio Quartararo and others are all queued up right behind him. So he's in a bit of a rock and a hard place here, Marini. He's got to make the move. He's got to make it clinically and precisely. But of course, if he goes too aggressive, he could lose a place.
There's Anaya Bastianini in the top left-hand corner of your screens, looking thoroughly miffed and cheesed off with life at the moment, isn't he? Of course, we thought when there was the sprint podium in Brno and the Grand Prix podium in Catalonia that Anaya would turn the corner on that unruly RC16, which he really struggled to adapt to from the factory Ducati at the start of this year. But he said this weekend, I feel like I'm back to square one. No confidence in the bike. He described his situation on Friday as critical.
Here comes Ralph Fernandez. If Marini's not going to go on the attack, then Ralph Fernandez is more than happy to.
Yeah, he just parked in the middle of that turn 16. He's got the ins. Oh! Big rub there between Ralph Fernandez and Marini. That's allowed the door wide open for Alex Rins to move up into the podium places. Alex Rins' last podium was his win, of course, for LCR Honda back at Austin in 2023. Alex Marquez then now picks up Ralph Fernandez. Marini almost lost the front, didn't he? Going into the braking zone for the first corner. So Marini, in the blink of an eye, has gone from fighting for P2 down to 8th.
That's exactly the problem I was describing a lap ago. If you don't get it right, if you don't get Acosta dealt with quickly, then there are so many riders queuing up behind you to pile on the agony. Quartararo there with a head shake on board his Yamaha. There are a good 8 or 9 riders here, all battling for the 2 remaining spots on the podium.
this was the move then by Ralf Fernandez. There's going to be big contact there as Marini squeezed him on the inside as he was perfectly entitled to do, and then that allowed Alex Rins to sweep on through. It's given Acosta his biggest breather in that second place for a good number of laps. Now Alex charges towards Alex of the Rins version.
Yeah, there's a Grassini 1-2 coming up here if Alex Marquez plays his cards right, because he's now had to do virtually no work to go through on Ralf Fernandez and Luca Marini. He's now up behind Alex Rins, and then, well, Pedro Acosta, it feels like he's a bit of a sitting duck, but boy is he doing a good job of playing the ultimate spoiler role in second place.
Alex Rins has not scored a single point in the last 3 Grand Prix, yet here he is on the podium places here as Marco Bezzecchi has had to take a trip to the medical centre. Alex Rins, 1:31.096 on that last. That was his best of this Grand Prix so far. This would be some story. There'll be some emotion if Alex Rins was able to take a podium here. Rins there still in 3rd place. We know what a class rider Alex Rins has been down the years. Some of his Grand Prix victories in the past were in some of the best battles we've ever seen. That epic fight with Marc Marquez at Silverstone a few years ago. Winning for Suzuki at Phillip Island 2 or 3 years ago stands out in the mind as well. He's won some classy battles, hasn't he, Alex Rins? Can he get the better of some of his rivals here and take that elusive podium?
Well, Fermin Aldeguer has got absolutely no idea of the incredible entertainment that's playing out behind him. He's just riding his own race, just joining the dots, just hitting all his apexes, hitting all his braking markers. As you said earlier on, this is a test of the Fermin Aldeguer concentration. This is trademarks, signs of the Aldeguer of Moto2 in his pomp.
Well, he was signed, a high-profile signing by Ducati before the Moto2 World Championship started last year in 2024 with Alex Rins. It's getting better and better, this, isn't it, for the factory Yamaha rider? Briefly through on Acosta into 12. We know how good Acosta's been on that left-hander through 13, but Alex Rins then now. Where has this performance come from Rins? As we mentioned, he hasn't scored a single point in the last 3 Grand Prix. A few people were saying, well, he was pretty fortunate to hang on to his factory Yamaha seat in 2026, but he is showing once again he's a top-notch, top-level rider, a class act, isn't he, Alex Rins? And now he's in the P2.
Although he's going to be under pressure here because the Yamaha's not a match for the KTM in a straight line, and Pedro Acosta's just going to breeze straight past him. He's up the inside. Can he break as late as Rins, though? Rins really did leave it late on the brakes there, and Acosta has to stay behind. Well, we know it's got a good front end, don't we? And Rins is proving it at the moment. Nothing to choose between their lap times last time round. There is absolutely nothing between them. Alex Marquez with the best queue in the house at the moment in 4th place, hoping that something kicks off ahead to open the door for him.
I suppose the big question mark hanging over Rins right now is how much, having got through to 2nd place, has he overworked that soft rear tyre? There's only him, Fabio Quartararo and Miguel Oliveira out on circuit that are on that soft rear tyre. You've got to say Alex is doing a phenomenal job. Alex Marquez pings it on the inside of Acosta into turn 10. Acosta desperately trying to fight back. This is going to be a huge day in terms of the championship for Alex Marquez. Surely this is the final leap towards securing 2nd overall in the standings. Potentially 16 points coming the way of Alex. Maybe an extra 4 if he's able to find a way through on Rins into 2nd place. And he gets the drive coming out that final corner. Alex Rins, I just wonder if he's starting to suffer. I wonder if he's starting to suffer with that soft rear tyre here. And let's go down to pit lane. Jack Appleyard with Davide Tardozzi for a Marc Marquez update.
Yeah, Davide, just very quickly, could you just update us on Marc's condition?
Yeah, there is an evidence of a break on the right shoulder, but we need a TAC to investigate deeper and understand if it's necessary an operation or not.
Thanks, Davide.
Thanks very much, Jack, and thanks to Davide Tardozzi for coming to speak to us for another painful experience for Marc Marquez. Talk about the ups and downs as a professional motorcycle racer. 7 days after one of the highlights of his Grand Prix career, 7 days after lifting that 7th MotoGP world title, Marc Marquez potentially fracture to his right shoulder or the right collarbone. That was his initial concern, wasn't it, after the contact from Marco Bezzecchi. Phew, that's a tough one for Marte, because Acosta then now goes back on the inside of Rins. I think Rins has just completely barbecued that soft rear tyre.
Well, it was a bit of a telltale sign, wasn't it? The lack of drive he got coming out of the final corner, the rear just spinning up, and Alex Rins now potentially, after such a fantastic afternoon, is now plummeting backwards through the field. Ralf Fernandez and Brad Binder now both go through. Can Binder get through on Ralf Fernandez? We know that Ralph's not easy to shift through this final corner, so Ralf Fernandez now 4th, Binder 5th, and Rins now back behind, or back with his teammate Quartararo in 6th and 7th.
Rins started that lap 2nd, he finishes it down in 6th place. He's really suffering at the moment, big time.
Up to 4th.
As Binder now sends it on the inside of Ralf Fernandez, albeit briefly. Now he chops back across the nose of the Trackhouse Pirelli rider. Now 9.1 seconds clear at the front is Fermin Aldeguer, who's in a different postcode at the moment, isn't he? Alex then now 2nd, Acosta looks like 3rd. That could be it in terms of the podium battle, because it looks like now there's a bit of a gap that's emerged back to Binder.
Pedro Acosta is just not letting him rest on this. He's definitely going to come on the inside. Of course he is. Acosta's not going to give this 2nd place up.
Now, conventional wisdom should suggest that Acosta's going to have the better front tyre underneath him at this stage of the race. The medium front should be giving him the better endurance compared to Alex Marquez's soft front tyre choice. Evidence of a fracture on Marc Marquez's right shoulder. The worst possible news. Only twice previously have 2 KTMs featured on the same podium. Styria back in 2020, and most recently Binder and Miller at the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez a couple of years ago. Might just run out of time here late on, Binder. He's a 2nd behind Alex as we come through the halfway point of this lap 26 of 27. What a moment this is potentially going to be for Fermin Aldeguer, as Marini retaliating late on from the fast-fading Ralf Fernandez.
Well, Marini's going to be livid at how that battle played out with Ralf Fernandez earlier on in the Grand Prix. He'll be thinking that's cost him a podium finish, because he's now siding back through the pack, back towards where he was, but of course he was the rider up behind Acosta.
Last lap underway. What a moment in the career, the very young career of Fermin Aldeguer. 4.3 kilometres away from history. We thought he was going to be the youngest rider ever to win a sprint. He certainly looks like he's going to be the first rookie to win a MotoGP race since Jorge Martin 4 years ago in 2021. They can barely watch the screens, can they, inside the Gresini racing garage?
Well, no one doubted the talent of Fermin Aldeguer. Of course, he was signed a year out from his MotoGP debut. So many expected him to waltz to the Moto2 title last season. That didn't quite pan out. He has had some rocky moments in his MotoGP rookie season, but this, without question, the highest of highs for Fermin Aldeguer.
A nod of the head, a nod of approval from Aldeguer as he comes out of the final corner. It has been, without question, phenomenal Fermin Aldeguer here in the Grand Prix of Indonesia. What a performance, what a dominant victory by the rookie. He becomes the first rookie to win since Jorge Martin, the outgoing world champion, back in Styria in 2021. The emotions pour out inside BK8 Gresini.
A phenomenal ride hands Aldeguer a maiden victory in MotoGP ahead of Pedro Acosta and teammates Alex Marquez. Brad Binder misses out on the podium, as does Luca Marini and Raul Fernandez. Quartararo, Morbidelli, Di Gianantonio and Rins complete the top 10.